So, folks, we had a small technical glitch and we are going to repeat the live stream. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode, part of our special series, Untold Side of the Mind, where we delve deep into the fascinating and lesser known aspects of the human mind. And today, we're thrilled to have back with us a repeat guest on TGV platform who never fails to inspire and enlighten, Yogi Sanjeevanaji. And Yogi Sanjeevana is not only a celebrated yogi, but also a thinker, a mind expert, and whose deep understanding of the mind body connection has transformed countless lives. And in this series, we explore myths, truths, as well as powerful practices related to the mind, bringing you practical wisdom to enhance your everyday life. And the last episode, we have discussed power of the mind, and today is the fourth episode in the part of Untold Side of the Mind series. And today we are here to cover more details around greedy mind. No matter whether you agree or not, we are all greedy to an extent, right? And at times we'll be more greedy. So let us unleash the power of, let us unleash what this greedy mind is all about and how can we overcome that greediness, right? So, hearty welcome to Yogi Sanjeevanaji. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Naveen. It's always a pleasure to be here, and everything is so well organized and everything. And I see you reaching more and more people, so it's a blessing to all. And it's always so nice to come back and then discuss these very, how to say, very minute and very sensitive topics also. No, because some people are in denial, and it's very nice you select these kind of topics.
Absolutely. Let's dive straight into the conversation. So, Sanjeevanaji, tell us about what exactly is a greedy mind and how does it manifest in our daily lives beyond material desires?
So, Naveen, more than an angry mind, which we will be talking about at some point, and a greedy mind is bit very kind of like a deceptive and very difficult to identify. And like we said in the beginning, some many people are in denial. Some people, when they are angry, also they deny, and they become more angry. Right? I'm not angry, and they become more angry. Here, it's more subtle, and I'll go to the ancient science of it, which is very clear. Uh, and because it has a like a pleasure factor inside that, within that, that's why we tend to like get attached and all, and it doesn't stop there, it goes on and on. Maybe it's just as a child, maybe another piece of another sweet, or then you want to see something nice, maybe a cartoon, which is totally fine, or listen to something, or smell something, taste something, no, or feel something. But you see, over the course of time, even thinking the small things, they started becoming big things, and then the
Mhm,
things that we wanted to watch, sometimes it goes a little bit further, right? Maybe it's person of the opposite gender, and then some people cannot stay there. It goes beyond that, and sometimes they are not satisfied, maybe with their partner, just one partner, no, or they want like multiple, or they fall into deep trouble. Even the listening, no, some people, the listening part goes way further. And I have heard like people even spending thousands of money just to listen to some, how to say, explicit things. Nowadays, it
right.
seems, I think, with the internet, but those days, they used to use the phone mostly. And then still there are, it seems, and even the smell, no, some people would go for very expensive perfumes and all, and even the taste, and there's no limitation for this. So I am not telling that we should be caught up in some place and we have to stick there. But the thing is, like, with or without knowing, not only like this is a mental fact actually. Though we are
Mhm,
caught up in the external objects, but it all happens within the mind. Because for some person, so for say like say money for instance, if you give a little child, maybe he will start playing with it, right? And monopoly money and real money, they don't know the difference even. But for us, maybe, or an adult, oh, they must say this is such and such, this not worth this much. For a child, if you give a piece of gold or something, maybe they'll start throwing it around. But for us, we may put in a safe or like keep some weapons to protect it. No, it can go a long way, right? So, in ancient wisdom, this was categorized into 8 groups.
mhm, mhm,
So there is like pleasure associating with two for four from the two
mhm,
groups. It can yet the 8 can be divided into two more groups. One
I
is
see.
associated with pleasure because people feel a pleasure in this. But the crude part, this can go into things like stealing, even
Mhm,
sexual misconduct.
mhm,
So that also, it's very nicely done by those ancient ones. So there is with satisfaction or pleasure person does, and not
mhm,
only that, you can have a wrong view. So they have so much, so it doesn't really matter if I
mhm.
take a little. This
Right.
company has so much, they are not treating the workers or something, but that doesn't mean it's a reason to steal. You rectify it for some reason. You rectify it, and then these people stole, so I can steal from them. They are stealing
Mhm,
from the workers. Or like they have their side businesses, and also they don't even feel it. They will use some kind of thing. So this is called wrong view. So there are four things. You are happy and you put a crazy rectifying thing also there. And Naveen, you don't. People don't hesitate sometimes. Some people hesitate. Should I or should I not? Should I? Or maybe they remember their children, and then or they feel like they have no other choice, so they take. But some you see like even when you go to like a wedding function, or there are some people who quickly fill up their plates, right?
yeah.
As if like you are starving, you have never eaten for like a year or something. You see this, no? This can be even a buffet, right? And you see some well rich people fighting in a buffet for some particular kind of food. They're like pulling it, no? And then there are like arguments and sometimes really a fist fight. So so you can see these things happening. So
Mhm,
you can do it happily. So this four also breaks into another thing. You do it very happily. You put a crazy ideology also to that, and you don't hesitate. You quickly do it. You snatch it, or you take it, or some people even in the sea, Uh, oh,
mhm,
I have seen some very crazy places like even an animal, even a
mm.
child or a partner, they try to grab that partner, right? I really want it. I know. I want that. I want that particular watch. There are so many watches, but I really want that car. I remember
Right.
like some very powerful person was called to a function of a like a housewarming function. He saw the house and he said, I want the house.
Mhm,
Really? And he said, no, no, this is my house. I made it just now. Then what he did was he stopped all his businesses and really made it very tight for him. He had to give the house. So there are instances like that. The greed, because these are very wealthy people, no? They have multiple homes and very powerful. But you invite them as a special guest and they want your house, no? Maybe your partner, no, maybe your car, your business sometimes, like big corporations also, they try to take the smaller ones, no? Or make a
yeah.
monopoly. I'm just telling, no? You see this happening everywhere in the world. So
Absolutely.
even countries, no, at war, even from ancient times, they some king says like, I want to capture everything. And at
Mhm,
any cost, they would even putting their people's life at stake. So then, yeah, you do it very happily with a crazy idea, and you do it very quickly. And then you do with happiness, you do. There's a crazy idea or ideology of rectifying it, but you do it half-heartedly. Like, should I do? Should I not? Should I do? You have to push yourself to do. That is two. Then you are not thrilled about it. Some people, there was a king in a particular country. I'm not telling the country. It was a prince. Sorry, a accountant or like a clerk had to go behind this clerk because
mhm,
he had a problem. Wherever he went, he would quickly put something like a kleptomaniac. No,
mhm.
if he saw that it was good, he would like quickly take it and put. So the clerk had to go behind. How much was that? And the prince thought that nobody saw, right? So
Right.
at the end, they would pay for the shop.
Mhm,
So, but there are hesitant moments.
mm,
There's happiness allowed, but either because of fear or something, people are hesitant a little. They have to push themselves to do. And there are
mm.
some like you don't feel totally happy. You do it, you steal it, but you're not thrilled about. Some people are happy to steal, and you put a rectifying idea to it, and then what happens is you can do it very quickly. Nobody has to force you anything, but you're not very thrilled about it even. Maybe when you maybe after some person does it for a long time, it becomes like normal for them. Thrill goes away. And then there is like it's called with a yeah, like a mind that is not very happy as well as not even sadness, no. And then there is like the mind with the you have to think again, and they are not
Mm-hmm.
very happy. So this differs into two places. Either you can use very crazy ideology to rectify what you are doing. They have so much things, so it doesn't really matter if you take a little.
Yeah.
Maybe they have so many animals, if I take one, or so many toys or something, if I take one, it really doesn't matter to them. They are very rich, or maybe
You're
they
right.
don't need it, or some kind of thing. Then what, oh, a flower, a plant or something might regrow, so it won't be a big issue. And then there is like without that ideology, so all those four categories can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Then Naveen, the ego factor comes into that. So you
Mm-hmm.
can do four types with two happy, two with like a mind that is not happy and not very sad also. And like you have to, sometimes you do it very quickly, and sometimes you are hesitant about it. That is four. And then there's like with the, and so there's with the crazy rectifying or ideology, as well as when it's not present, what happens? It's with ego factor. So they have categorized nicely, very clearly, into
Mm-hmm.
8 parts. So everybody who is not enlightened, they carry bits and pieces of Navin.
I loved all the examples that you mentioned, and sometimes I wonder if at all man has the ability to carry all the wealth that they have accumulated, people would have been much more greedier, right? We come to the world naked and we go naked. Nothing else. Nothing
Yeah, yeah.
else comes along with us, right? When we reach the heavenly abode, and that's what I wonder. And I loved all your examples. And let's move forward to the next
Sure,
one.
sure.
Like
Okay.
is greed a natural part of the human psyche, or is it a learned behavior which is influenced by society? Okay, somebody else has done that, let me also do it. What's your take?
So there's either side, Navin. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, say there's a stream. Under the stream, there's sediment. At first, this water is clear, and the stream is, you can see clear water. But say like you take a
Mm-hmm.
stick and you start poking it, no? Then what?
Mm.
The sediment or the mud that starts mixing, and the water also gets muddy.
Yeah,
So likewise,
you're right.
nobody's born as a saint, right?
Mm.
Nobody's born as 100% saint, no? So otherwise they will be,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they will be born in better places even, right? Heavenly realms and all these nice places. So in some traditions they say like they would not be born again even in some traditions. So Navin, it is said like when a child is very small, they are very innocent, right? So it's like the clear water that goes. But we,
Mm-hmm.
or our parents or who adults, right? They start teaching you, no? Okay, son or daughter, this is because it is a thing, no? Like even the fingers, hands, everything, they teach. Then later, the
Mm-hmm.
child identifies these and says, okay, these are mine, which is totally fine, right? But later, like if something even small thing happens, or a brother or sister hits, then they feel, okay, they hit my hand, no? Or the puppy or the cat bit my hand. Then little by little, they are introduced into different things. Oh, these are your clothes. This is your mother and father, which is totally fine. It should be. But more you introduce, these are your toys. Then sometimes this is your brothers or sisters, this is yours. And then later the conflict starts, like he took some of what belongs to me. Have you seen now? Surely you are a great father. And even the little tiniest guys, the babies, in the first time they have eaten something nice, they don't know what it is even, but they quickly grab hold of it. No? Even ice cream, the first time, like when their eyes lit up, and they like started eating, like holding it, squeezing it. No? And then sometimes they don't like to give it back even. Right? Then they
Right.
cry, complain. So more you start poking, which is a thing, no, like you have to teach the child. But the inner sediment
Mm-hmm.
starts slowly. coming out. Then what?
Right.
It blends with the water and then it becomes muddy.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are like poking it so much, the whole the stuff is like always mixed with the water, and that's why the water is always murky. And some characters in
Mm-hmm.
life you see, my goodness, that person is so tricky or so greedy, we say, no? Or so angry, so full of hate and rage because they stir their own stuff so much. And then later, what happens when it's murky, even a little thing what meets the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, it's like you poke with a stick more and more. Then even more mud starts mixing. So I hope with that we can understand. So it's like we also bring some residue,
Right.
but from the things we are associating. That's why different people in different regions, there are some common aspects, but what they like can differ. Even the food types, and then the things they use. We can call it all. Everything is food, everything is lodging, everything is drinking. You can say everything is clothing, but we don't know some countries like what their food types are even, no, and what they crave for. Yeah, what they really like to eat or like they are even greedy for. We don't
Yeah.
even know. But sometimes for our foods, some kinds, we can be greedy, no? Oh, give me another, give me
Absolutely.
another. Or sometimes you don't want to show and you start eating also. And when you're, especially in the teenage times and all, maybe you get a big load of it and you start just, and then you feel like, oh, why did I even eat this, right? And so
Yeah.
it's both ways.
Hmm. Amazing. I loved the sand sediment example and how the water gets murky, right? Wonderful. And sometimes I try to understand the difference between this greedy mind from healthy ambition or striving for success, right?
Mhm.
So striving for success is good, but beyond a point, there might be a high level of probability where greed might creep in. So where do we draw the line?
Yeah, yeah. You see this in many fields and many places also
Hmm.
now. For example, I'll just say, like somebody starts a bakery. At first, their bread or whatever they are making is so nice. Like everybody likes it, even the surrounding will feel the smell and everything. But after, like now, there's a lot of bunch of people that come. Then later, little by little, you see like the amount is reducing. The flavor is not so much. But they are prosperous now. They are getting a lot of money. But they start cutting the corners, right? Then sometimes some places lose business also. So usually say, oh, when they just started, it was so nice, but now it's not so good. And after some time, people realize. So they say cost cutting or something. Even vehicles, no, like even for example, tuk-tuks, no, like when I remember, like before when they met with an accident or something, it didn't smash like a tin, right? Those days,
Yeah.
but little by little, even the gauge of that metal would reduce. And even this roofing
Hmm.
sheets or something. Now, when I remember when we were small in the houses and all, it was so thick. You could,
Hmm.
but now there are like blades. You can just like so flimsy, but you have to pay a bigger price to get the higher gauge one. So
Hmm.
even the thinnest one is like the expensive according to those prices that were. But even to get that thicker gauge, you need more. So you see, like people after some time. So even I even talk to like health professionals, and then I'm not telling who they are or anything, no. So these are very nice people. So
Right.
I asked like over the years, now how do you see? And this person was very honest, and he said like a file in the office and a patient is not very different for me now.
Hmm.
But think that when you take the extreme, if it's like a office paper, a human's life, this is a good person, eh? Not one of those bad ones even. And this person is not doing any crooked things even. He said like after some time, so like it's just procedure now. Before I felt very touching, but there are so many patients coming and there's so many incidents happening. So you become very immune and it becomes
Hmm.
like a habitual thing now. So this person said like a file or paper in the office, no? But think the other extreme, like if a health professional sees the patient like some money, right? Where they can cash in. So they can prescribe everything, medicines that are even not required. Or they can say you have these problems, you have to take these meditations even for life, right? And then go to the particular place to get the medicine, then they get a commission from somewhere else. So there are so many things, even food, right? They make it in a very low grade and try to reduce, but the prices are the same. And they see like what are the ways they can make more profit. So even if they start in a very honest way, maybe they were very honest at first, the greed can slowly creep in. And you don't see, like these limitations when they expand, they never stop, right? If it's like in your country and if it's well established, then you start other projects. I remember like there were these jewelry guys and they had branches everywhere. Then they started like
Right.
pawn brokers. Like you could give your
Yeah.
jewelry and then you can get some money, right? And then it didn't stop. Like film industries, so many things happen. And they didn't stop there, no? Like retail markets, food products, everything. TV corporations, stations, radio stations. And then they started expanding outside the country. So
Yeah.
it whatever things they can expand. So if there is a chance they can expand to even the Mars and the Moon, and I don't know how far because there are so many galaxies and universes, so it won't stop. So it's always good to have a goal in life and plan, but the only thing is the greed can sneak in. So very rarely people get out escape from that, because that's why you see people in power and all these things, and then you don't know what they will do even, right? They can even do
Yeah.
very harsh things
Got.
because the greed for power
Mm-hmm.
is there. But maybe they started very humble and they were so much help in society and everything, but slowly it changed, no? You can see many characters like that even in history, no? Only danger, we have to be very careful of the greed factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So, Yogi Sanjana ji, let's now talk about the triggers, right? What exactly triggers greed in the mind? Is it fear or insecurity or a deeper void what we are trying to fill in? What's your take on that?
Okay, Naveen. So usually fear and things are associated with anger. Ancient ones
Mm-hmm.
categorized into three: greed, anger, and delusion. Delusion
Mm-hmm.
has a part in all three, all the other two. If it was like usually, if delusion was a coin, one side would be greed, one side would be anger. And then you put it heads or tails, but either, and it can flip very easily. And then the trigger points are like what we discussed before. Like that's why each person has preferences. Each
Mm-hmm.
person has their preferences, and then sometimes it cannot be avoided. That's why it becomes a habit or even addiction.
Mm-hmm.
The trigger points
Mm-hmm.
then can vary from person to person, and some people just the please in the eye. Maybe they watch things like pornography, maybe. Some people like music, but
Mm-hmm.
it goes more and more, or like explicit stuff and all. Some people, you don't even know, like some people come with addictions. You cannot even believe. I'm not telling who they are, but they would try to smell the weirdest of things. And it had become an addiction. I think you get what I mean. So they would
Right.
steal
Yeah.
some fabrics of some other people also just to get the
Mm-hmm.
smell of it. So come on, who
Mm-hmm.
does that, right? So and the taste, and some people like, so I saw in the internet also, they want to even taste human flesh, and they
Yeah.
so it
Cannibalism.
can cannibalism. So they put ads on the internet. I don't know where, but it had really happened, and one person had volunteered also, and he got killed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there were instances, no, like which it had really happened. And so the extreme you never know, and the mind when it's left by itself, it can go wayward, and you can take different substances and all, and put your mind to any crazy scenario. And with the digital technology and all, you can imagine almost anything, right? The virtual
Yeah.
reality, and with those goggles and glasses and all that thing, so people can be caught up in any kind of reality they wish now, but it's not
Yeah.
true. So, Naveen, like each trigger point, but the basics are the same. but it can
Mm-hmm.
come from the eye door, ears door, nose door, tongue door, body door, or the heart or the mind. And then according to each person, because if for somebody something, for example, somebody can be greedy for very sour kind of food, but for some other, I cannot even even my teeth are like, no, like there's a shaking, no, if you say like sour. Some people like really bitter or spicy. Some people are obsessed with meat, no. So there are many things, no. So they would do anything for that. So or physically, no, and the touch or any kind of or special clothing, I they would go for any kind of extent, even to steal something. Even some people go to the distance of even murder, right? To these things just to get, I hear like just a wallet, just a jacket, and they had to end the other person's life just for that. It's very sad in a way, no? So
Absolutely.
the trigger points can be varied, but the
Mm-hmm.
basics are the same. But according to each individual, also it can change.
Right. Okay. And let's dive into the childhood experiences and upbringing. Do they contribute to the development of a greedy mindset? Maybe because in certain movies it is projected, right? The
Mhm.
antagonist, the villain, comes from a very poor background, and maybe they were betrayed by someone, and this fellow becomes so greedy and he wants to snatch everything from others,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, so true, Navin. They had done a research and they asked
Hmm.
like why some people they would go for the latest iPhone maybe,
Right.
or
Okay.
maybe a Rolex watch. But these are not very rich people also. So they people in their mind, Navin, they have like maybe some kind of special handbags for ladies. I don't know
Right.
what all they are wearing or anything, but
Some
you
Louis
know,
Vuitton and
yeah, yeah,
Gucci,
exactly.
popular
So
brands, right?
we have a thing like, okay, the phone should be like this. The suit, so if for it's men, like some particular kind of watch, the
Hmm.
shoes, the suit, and everything. Ladies, surely, right? They know from cosmetics and all these things. So even they ridicule, no, if you use some other normal kind of stuff or cheap, no, like even no, look, it's not some designer wear or something. So they say like even a person who is not very rich, Navin,
Hmm. Yeah.
they would try to achieve at least one thing. Then they feel, okay, maybe I cannot have the Lamborghini and the watch and all this, no, and diamonds and all these things, but at least I have the phone. But
Hmm.
maybe it's so their whole salary or more, or they just got it on a loan or a debt, no, or they stole it maybe.
Yeah.
But they want to possess it for some reason. So there is a kind of deprivement also that is involved. That's why it can turn into hatred also, or even
Hmm.
stealing. And there can be like a, uh, like in society, layers, and they start hating the others, and they try to rectify it and put, and then they try to destroy the people who have it even. So, but in like in society also, we are programmed. If as a child you should have these things, and
Hmm.
this is what a child should, they have to have bicycles, toys, all these things, and Legos and all. And this is like what you should have, or the particular types of pencil boxes, the bags, the watches, the shoes if possible, even at least one. And then you say the
Hmm.
other children also having, no. But
Right.
these are like okay, Christmas time or holiday time or some special occasion time according to different religions. So in a way they market it and try to put it on to even children. And this is like the latest Xbox, no, or like in Western countries by this time you should need a car. I saw a child who's like 16
Hmm.
complaining like their parents bought this child a Tesla, and she was like really grumbling and angry because she wanted a Mercedes, and they brought her a Tesla. Really? So there are children who cannot have their own food even, right? And then
Yeah.
this child got a Tesla and she was complaining. She was really upset, no? Why did you bring this? Take it back. Yeah, as if it was a small toy or something, no? But still, even for a small toy, this is not what I wanted. I wanted that. But this grows, right? So in school and all the products we use and the advertisements we see, and even we are influenced by the others around, especially the crowd you are associating, and otherwise you cannot be with the group. You feel down, no, you start hating your parents, or you are ashamed of your parents because they are poor. Then you try to hide those factors, act rich. Some people borrow and go and show off. So yeah, we are definitely affected by many things, and social media for sure nowadays, because you see all these influencers and all with all these luxury items and everything. So you this is the idea you see according to your age category, and
Hmm.
usually they are also quite young, no, these people.
Right.
So then you see
And
that,
they get
oh, with the,
influenced.
yeah, the chains, the cars, the money and everything, then they also think like, okay, why cannot I have that, right?
Yeah.
And some people might go to gang violence or this kind of, or drug dealing, just to be that. And sometimes it's like appreciated in some places, like whatever you do, if you have the money, it's okay. Even if you are a drug dealer, right? Yeah, it's
Got
very
it.
complicated.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings to the next one. Like, since you've spoken about this drug dealing, and in some places, like as long as you're wealthy and filthy rich, that's okay. But let's talk about the nuances of this cultural and societal systems, like capitalism or consumerism. Do they condition us to have greedy tendencies in any way?
You see this happening now in like you see people now becoming obese, even the
Mm,
consume culture. So
mm,
yeah, what they do is like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, I'm just telling because it happened to me also, right?
yeah.
Even the things we, so you are put into a cycle of advertisements, and it's like a hypnosis process. And then what happens is you are conditioned so much, you go and
Mm,
pick that thing specifically. And they use
mm-hmm,
so many kinds of mental approaches as well as different strategies to meet the eye. You see big billboards, why are they even putting them up? And you hear like special people, like celebrities or somebody people admire or popular, saying, oh, this
mm-hmm.
use this product, no, this is so nice, my family is so happy, I lost this body weight and everything, or something good. But to see they have put up their whole life maybe to that. It's not just this product alone, no.
Yeah.
And then what happens, you are preconditioned. And then after that, when you go and you see like even products, right, like the salt factor, the sugar, and then there are I'm not mentioning any names. There are some products now in, like some drinks or some foods, after some time you feel there's a effect in the tongue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But there are some things like you can take in the morning time, daytime, even in the night or evening time, you can consume as much as you want.
Okay.
But there are many harmful things of that. But they have purposely removed that factor that the tongue repels it. So then that's why, and then some things like salt or sugar is added. Then you, the urge for that is more and more. Or
Right.
things like MSG, for instance.
Yeah.
So the craving factor is in one way like the business thrives. You want another thing of that or another part of it, or another item, or I want to see, okay, this was nice, maybe I'll try the other flavors also.
Right.
Or even bigger, this is innocent in a way, right? But I'm just
Yeah.
telling, like you are conditioned in a nice way, but you're caught up in this web and slowly wrapped with that, so you cannot help yourself. That's why
Yeah.
like people with diabetes, even if they're diabetic, they still keep on eating.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People with maybe problems in the liver, but they still keep drinking. People with cancer, they still keep smoking, right? And even children and all, they cannot stop, no, like they just munch on these like fast foods and everything. And some of it now we realize it's not even like food, no, it's like you batter a piece of cardboard and you deep fry it, no. And even a potato chip, it doesn't look like chips, right? Like it's not like we fry a piece of potato and take, huh? It seems like a piece of cardboard, so you can just keep on eating and your stomach doesn't get filled. And you can just, it's like eating cardboard and you can consume more. So when you consume more, what happens is the demand is more, right? And if you get addicted or hooked up to that, my goodness, like that is will be like a flow of cash. So yeah, there are so many things involved. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to be very careful also, and protect our children, because we don't want, in a way the world is driven towards a direction like that, no? So but at least if we can show, and we also have to be healthy, right? We
Right.
have to be healthy,
Absolutely.
and others we become sick, and then we'll be hooked up on medicines, right? So there's, this is like a loop. If even if you are healthy or you try to be healthy, then you have to find some things that keep you healthy, or you go to the opposite end that you are very unhealthy, and then either way you are again brought back to that place, like where you can be you, or you have to take medicines, and it's a lifelong process, right? And then what happens is your kidneys and everything starts wearing off, but still you have to take that until maybe you pass away.
Hmm.
Somebody else gains a lot of money out of all this, no? It's
Yeah.
very sad in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can relate to certain food combinations and all. In India, at least, biryani and some soft drink combination.
Ha
And if
ha
you happen to visit certain popular restaurant chains, right?
ha ha
You go grab a burger, they ask you to club it with some drink and
ha.
also some chips, right? So even that is also leading to excessive consumption, right? And people are
Uh,
falling sick, getting obese, and a lot of problems. And then again, another cycle gets in wherein you are running behind the hospitals, and again that is another, eh, I would say, another spend cycle that gets kicked in. And also, knowingly or
yeah,
unknowingly, I think everybody is maybe because of the company's greed, people are getting victimized. That is my take. And
uh-huh.
thank you for the great summary. Let's move to the next one. I'm curious to understand, like, if at all somebody is greedy, right? If their mind is greedy, does that impact their mental health and the overall well-being as such?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Naveen. So
Mm-hmm.
the greed can go to. I remember there was a lyric also. No, if if the love for power was not,
Mm-hmm.
if it was like, if the power of love was more prominent, no, we'll have much peace in this world,
Mm.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
Rather
Right.
than
Mm-hmm.
power, the love for power, no. So
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
greed can take into such extents, it can
Mm.
destroy everything. You can annihilate
Mm.
everything around you, and for just for that purpose. And sometimes you don't even know like how much it destroys your life even, or the loved ones around you.
Mm-hmm.
So anything can be, or you can abuse anything. Even food, people just start eating and it becomes a disorder, right? An
Right.
addiction. You can stop yourself, so people just eat and eat and eat and eat. So even when they are upset they eat. But there are other things, alcohol, drugs, all these things. Or a person can just go after sex even, right? And they would spend all their money on that wealth, and even their family, they don't care. There'll be so many problems, even end up in jail, or even murders can happen. So the extreme of greed can go so far and beyond, even into a case like where you can, if you are a very powerful person, you can destroy entire countries, maybe in the even the world itself. So just think like if a person like has all these nuclear powers, and they just switch on a button or give the order just because of their greed, maybe, right? And then, or just to keep in power. You see, in many countries also this happens, and they find like now afterwards when this leader is no more, and so many people, their lives were taken from them. So now in this, yeah, even in a small aspect, I remember there was a child as a children, and their child, and he didn't become the first in the class. We were very small, no, at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and just by one
Right.
mark, and but all the time he was the first, no, in the class. But here, like in that particular exam, one child took 1 mark above him. He just collapsed, no? He fainted.
Mm.
But all the time, he was number one. Only this time, right? So they don't see like the bright side of things, or like even as a child, no? There are reasons for that. Their parents were pushing their child, so many things happening. But still, that brought up that No child has to how to faint, no, and fall down on the floor just because of one mark, right? And he's just the second, and they all had like very high marks, no. So and then I saw a little child like the third. I think this is a common picture on the internet. He was first. They have this small stand like thing, no, and he was number one.
Mm,
But the number
right.
three one was like really happy and
Really
and
happy.
the number one was like ooh, and looking very sad. Number three, as if he got something better, right? Because he was so happy. So then, yeah, you wonder why, and then you realize like this, so it can affect from anything. It can turn into
Mhm.
things like jealousy or rage, even like how to say taking revenge. That's why even young people sometimes they end other people's lives, or maybe a girlfriend's, no? And they like say, if I cannot have you, nobody can. These are young
Mm,
children, right? Or if I cannot have that person, I don't need to live even, right? Or if I cannot have that relationship, my parents won't allow me, I won't live no more. So they take up ending their lives even, or they disrupt all their education. So in every aspect you can see this greed. Even little children, no, I have seen like they destroy other people's toys, hide their stuff, or throw away
mhm.
the stuff. These are little children, and you wonder why this child had to even do this. These should be children, no? Like, but it happens there also. So what to say? Like in officers, you see backstabbing, telling tales. They're trying to reach that higher peak, so they would go to any extent, any kind of
Yeah,
favors, no? Or telling
yeah.
behind the back and putting even a good person, say like he's no
Mm,
use or she's very bad, no, doesn't work, but actually that is the person who's working maybe.
right.
So it can go to all levels, and definitely there's a big karmic factors involved. Naveen, it's very dangerous, though you can maybe escape or be rich or something in this life, maybe for a small extent, but still you won't be satisfied because you will need more, right? And then more greed. It's like just putting something into the fire. It will just keep on burning. You can put bigger stuff, still it will burn. It never says it's enough, no? You never see a fire that says, okay, I had enough, no? I'm full. No, right? It doesn't say like that. As much, it will burn the house even if needed, right? If possible. So
True.
you can see this happening, and there's a big toll. And if we believe in future births, the opposite will happen. You can become super poor. What you do is here, and if you steal and take other people's stuff, then in those lives, many people will steal, even if you are the best person around. Without no reason, people will be stealing from you, even if you are poor, or the government or something will snatch things from you. You see, very innocent and very good people sometimes suddenly taken off their property, or some criminal or somebody comes and snatches stuff from them. Even their daughters or children or something, sometimes they say, I want this, no? It happens, right?
Yeah,
Or they're
indeed.
abducted or something, some crazy thing can happen. That can even like traumatize or like have scars even for whole life.
Yeah,
So there are so many consequences also that can happen in this life as well as afterlife even, if people believe.
yeah. That is what is karma. You say, right?
Yeah,
What
surely
goes out again comes back.
comes
If
back
you do
in a
good,
very bad way
good
now,
comes back. Right. Great. All right. So let's move to the next one now. Talk about the relationships. Like, how does this greed manifest, and what are its effects on trust as well as emotional connection?
uh-huh. So surely now we can see like the greed can be mentally or physically, and there should be a balance, right? Even there are people who come and talk these things with us also, and surely maybe in your shows, no, you meet. So say even physical intimacy, a person can go even to an extent like the other partner, it's too much for them to handle. Or even like I saw one place, like we were in a restaurant at some point, back in the days. The man was eating and eating and eating. The girl or the wife was like just looking at like very like in a disgusted way, no? And he had all these baskets of food like from the bread rolls and all, one by one just coming, and he was just munching on them. So there are instances like, and you see, like when people are greedy towards money, sometimes they don't even look after their children or their spouses. And some females also, when they see money, well, sometimes they abandon their families or go with somebody else, no? Or even children, they are ashamed to talk about their parents because they were poor and they brought them up to this extent. I remember there was a time, like there was a lady doctor, and the mother was actually like doing like labor work, and then she somehow they taught this child, and she became a doctor. But
Mm-hmm.
after she became a doctor, she didn't even visit her mother. And one day, like it's very sad in a way, like her mother became very sick and she had to go to the hospital, and the daughter also had been there. And then this is a real incident, and the mother surely knows, even after all these years, her daughter, right? Even if she didn't see, they can recognize. And had hugged her daughter, saying, "Oh, my daughter." But she had acted like, "No, no, this who's this crazy lady, and like I don't know her, so dirty and all. I don't know who's this. Maybe it's a crazy lady." And she has acted like it was not her mother even. So it's very sad also. And you see this happening in many cultures, many places, and in modern society especially. And because of greed, they say, "I don't have time. No, I don't have time for my children. I'm so busy." What are you busy with? No, I remember one child had come to their father and asked, like, "How much do you earn per day?" So he had
Mm-hmm.
said, like, this much. No, you can calculate and see. Then he had took out some money. It's very sad also, no. And he had said,
Right.
"Hey, you keep this, no." And he asked, "Why? Why
And
are you
talk to
giving
me.
me money? You keep this money and stay with me today
Right.
because I miss you, no." So children and all, they feel it's so hard. Maybe it's your partner. It doesn't matter whether it's male or female. Some people, they say they work, and then some, at some extent, they forget who the people who are really there for you. You see people, no, they go to university and they forget who are there. Even a partner who was helping them to go to university, no. Or they say, like in the workplace, we feel more connected because we are doing the same profession, and they even sometimes drop their whole family, no, they get divorced or start a affair. So these things, like some people are so arrogant, they don't know how to talk to a person. So these all are related to so in connection with society and all. So you can see how this starts a very negative impact than a positive. And the greed, even if it's super rich, you wonder, like, why this person is acting like this. Even you can see it, you cannot hide it, no. and
Mm-hmm.
and people feel, oh, this person is a creep,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, like this is so greedy, no. There are people, I don't know whether you believe, even small things, like they are very rich, but they cannot stop themselves. If they see like a fruit or mango or something, they just snatch it, Naveen, or even secretly. These are guys who have like workshops and, like, how to say, like trucks, vehicles, like bungalows and all, but they cannot stop their greed even for a small thing. They cannot watch another person sometimes build a small wall in front of their house. There are people I know, like I have got to know, like they do this. They do even voodoo, like black magic. Just they because they cannot watch, they are becoming successful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
these are, but they are very rich people. So then you wonder what in the world, like those other people, they cannot get close to them even
Mm-hmm.
in the wealth, as aspect. But still
Right.
they want them to be like in their how they were. So greed, hatred, also the greed can even convert into jealousy, hatred, these kind of the domination in many many ways, and it's very harmful, especially in like associating with people, even your family, the children, society, work ethics or workplace. Sorry, and later the stench will come out of you, and people start feeling it. However, you can be very like how to look, you can look very posh and everything, but it just flows out from your
Mm-hmm.
words, actions. a
Hmm.
livelihood everywhere.
Mm. You're right. Great. And I'm also curious about, can the greedy mind ever lead to true fulfillment? Or does it
Uh-huh.
always be in a mode of wanting more? I need more. I need more.
So, to be honest, now in ancient wisdom, it is told as like if you are thirsty, what happens if you drink salty water?
Hmm.
Your thirst never quenches, right?
Right.
Or
True.
even the example of fire,
Hmm.
however much you put like wood or some kind of burning material, the fire
Hmm.
never says it had enough, right? It just burns. So it keeps on burning, burning, burning. So likewise, I remember like one ancient master had shown the Mount Himalayas actually.
Acha.
And somebody was telling like another person had come and told like, why are you doing these meditations and all? You're such a
Hmm.
wise person, no? And you can go and like even do a kingdom and
Hmm.
for some specific reasons also. Eh? And he had told that, do you see the Himalaya mountain? Even if you make this pure gold and give it to one person, this person usually won't be satisfied. They'll want more, right? Or they'll spend it and want more. And then how can you ask me to take care of a kingdom? Because there are so many people in a kingdom. So
Yep.
you cannot ever quench this thirst of greed.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah.
danger is now in it goes downwards in the
Hmm.
sansaric journey. If you
Hmm.
are like you see like animals, no. For example, the ancient one said like the moth or the cricket, it jumps into the fire, gets burnt, but it cannot stop itself. Then again with the burnt feathers or like the wings and the limbs, it jumps again. And they say like sometimes flies, how dirty it must be, but they sometimes fall into that dirt and they die in that. It's called like the elephant has the big ear, right? And
Right.
sometimes like in the season, like the mating season, there's kind of like liquids coming. So a lot of these flies they come, but they cannot stop themselves from that stinge. It seems. So what happens is like when the elephant flips the ear, they get crushed by it.
Hmm.
So the smell is also like that. The fish, however they are caught into the hook, even if they escape, when another fisherman puts the bait, they forget it and they start eating it, no? And even the animals, no, like sometimes like you see like in the mating seasons and all, even the guys who should be at home, you cannot find them, right? They forget their homes, they forget to eat, right? Your pets and all sometimes, or even if you keep them home, they are like protesting and I want to go out and you all these sounds and everything. And I have seen like some places like the opposite one is like really like sometimes three legs. And this was near a pile of garbage. And the ones that were pursuing it looked very nice and like very groomed and all. And the other one, I'm just telling what I saw, was full of like skin diseases and everything with just three legs. One had rotted away. But still, the urge, this other animal could not stop. And definitely with the mind. So, what happens is like Navin, it says the downward in samsara. Okay, you wanted to see more. Okay, you see more. You want to hear more. They say even the deer, when the hunter plays the flute, it's attracted and then it gets killed even for the sound. So even as humans, when you do next birth, sometimes it's just like going downstream or downriver. You get the opposite support of it. Okay, you wanted to see, have it your way. You wanted to listen, you want to smell, you wanted to taste, you wanted to feel. Okay, you have it your way. There's a thing like that also. Eh? That's why we as human beings, we were born in a very pure state because our greed was much lesser. It's called trihetuka. Trihetuka means very little greed, very little anger, and very little ignorance.
Mm.
We cannot say not totally there. Alobha, adosa, amoha.
Hmm.
That's why we become a human. It's in some places it's called mana usatiti manusa. Like with a mental factor very high. That's why we can think something and do something even further, achieve heights in humanity also than the average. But animals, they cannot stop. I'm not telling they are all bad, but they cannot
Right.
sometimes stop their instinct. They have to do it.
Right. Got it. And from yogic or spiritual perspective, how is greed seen as a block to inner peace or enlightenment?
Yeah, just like greed, anger, and delusion. These are the
Hmm.
main three culprits that hinder a mind, a
Okay.
troubled mind that can stop you going from very higher states of calm, peace, and happiness now. Because these
Nice.
are the bigger block, and there are like it's like these three big bosses are sending their henchmen. So there are versions of, if it's anger, sometimes it can send jealousy, envy, then or like greed, from different things, or attachments, these kind of things. But the main culprits are there. So in a spiritual aspect, if somebody wants, there are methods and ways of practice even, to soften them up and then make a platform that is very wholesome, and then build upon that. Like you clear the grass. If you have nice vegetable bed or something, if there are a lot of grasses, you cannot grow anything, right? But first you have to clean it somehow or other. Then you can plant proper trees or proper
Hmm.
plants, usable. So likewise, you have to at least remove the upper layers of this to get something going, or even to feel some peace and harmony. Because when you are caught up in that, it's so difficult, physically as well as mentally.
Yes. Okay. And we spoke about karma a little bit, right? Let us dive further into it. And what role does karma play in the consequences of acting out of greed? Do you think they carry from the past birth or something and they become greedy, or how does that actually work?
Yeah, surely, surely, Naveen. It's a very good question. I don't know for how much extent people will believe. Some people think everything is just like this life, but how? No, like how this we were innocent children, no, and then how can this innocent child suddenly become this person, or no, and who is greedy maybe, or angry, or full of hatred, or people with any person, no, they have their times, like they feel sad. And if this child was totally innocent and everything, how then it happened now? So there is a part that comes from our past lives also, Naveen. So it says, like, for example, actually in meditations you have to backtrack and see these also. There are specific meditations, and there are proper ways of doing it. You have to backtrack and see, and it's possible to do. It's not some magic, or you don't imagine these things, nothing like that. You have to see, then you get the idea, and it's confirmed, no, you do it like hundreds of times even. You don't use anything in the books or what you have heard or anything, and then now when you realize, for example, say there is ignorance also involved, and there definitely should be greed for a person to be born. So that means, like, it says, this is how they are actually explaining. So if I say, like, okay, next birth I want to become a human being. So the human being, actually there's no point that it is a permanent thing, right? It changes, it evolves and changes from a child to elder, elder to a mature person, and they die, right? So there is no permanent thing, but in our mind we take humans as a permanent thing. So that is considered as ignorance, because you cannot, in ultimate reality, you cannot say, where. Like you are showing a river, right? When you say this, it had already passed. You say it, but you can, in reality, total reality, you cannot say, if you, even if you run after that water and say this was the river I was telling about, that would also flow from there. And these are particles, or maybe droplets of water, even more deeper particles that make the water itself. So when we say river, it's droplets and then it's particles. So you
Mhm.
cannot even consider. So if it's particles, everything is particles, atoms, protons, and everything. So now in the thing is, like, we take it as a river, huh? And sometimes people fight over it. No, this is the water we should get. Why did you take it? This is belongs to us. Even on water. So
Mhm.
likewise, we take the life as a permanent thing. This is considered as ignorance. And then what happens is you crave for it. I want to become. I want to become as such. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. So, in a deep aspect, if this craving is not there, so the craving, it can be for sensual desires, it can be for lives, and it can be from supernatural powers even. I want to be born in those places. So then what happens? It applies, and there's a part. the reason to be born here also. That's why we were talking like the sediment.
Right, sediment. Yeah.
Sediment is there. It came from because otherwise some according to some practices we won't be born here even. And then that's why the future births also happen. If a person dies, huh, the others very easy, right? You can do anything and escape, right?
Yeah.
So there's always a connection now.
Yeah. Great. I think you have such a deep understanding about the subject, and thank you for enlightening us. And now let's talk about the specific yogic or meditative practices that are specifically designed to address greed and foster selflessness.
So now in most easiest thing we can do is like giving. That
Mm-hmm.
is the opposite of donating, giving, gifting. It's actually letting go. That is the easiest thing. Whatever, like even it can be some water or some food, even to animal. More you do it as actions. When you are stingy and greedy, you don't want to give even something which is worthless. No, maybe I'll need it in some time. Maybe my children will need, or you make some excuse even if you don't need it, right? Sometimes it's just rotting away in your house in some corner, but still you don't want to give it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
likewise, if you can give something that takes a huge chunk away and you can feel very happy and satisfied even. Greed doesn't make you satisfied. You think you are, but you will need more. And there are specific practices, Navin, from even from the food. This is not to
Mm-hmm.
feel disgusted. It's the opposite. That is anger. It is
Right,
kind
right.
of like to neutralize. Huh? So there are even from specifications from about the food, and then there are even practices on body organs. Like it's called kaya gata sati. Like you focus on the parts of the body, and it's not to feel disgusted or any. But if their lust is going overboard, you
Mm-hmm.
can use
Mm-hmm.
the disgusting factor also just to reduce it or neutralize it. And then there are even people used to meditate with the perceptions of using corpses even. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's very strong. No, they used to go to the cemeteries and practice or use skeletons. And just to know, when you know the reality, the greed for this or attachment reduces. And in a deep aspect, when you talk about vipassana and all, like the idea when you go more deeper and deeper now, say you were so caught up in the idea of your river, but now you see, oh, these are also just droplets of water. And droplets, if you recognize them or get to witness them as particles, then you see, like, what am I even fighting for? Right? Then, Navin, later what happens is like, more deeper you go, these defilements really, that sediment starts eradicating. Because every time we take from here, the sediment increases or sustains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't dissolve. But even when you start giving, this starts reducing. More deeper you understand it, it can be eradicated forever even. So there are specific enlightened stages that people don't have greed no more even. So it can be then see like how comfortable they must be or how peaceful they must be. So there are stages from even jhanic stages, like greed and anger and these things are so kept down or suppressed. And even there are like vipassana meditations and all, like you can totally eradicate greed, anger, and delusion. And people can become enlightened and be free from greed forever even. So there are so many practices, wholesome practices people can do.
Right. Awesome. Got it. Got it. And how about shifting gears and talking about, can greed ever serve a positive purpose? Maybe leading to driving innovation or progress in a positive way.
At first, it can look like that, Navin. It
Mm-hmm.
can be
Mm-hmm.
a motivation factor.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes like anger also, you can use that, divert that energy and
Mm-hmm.
focus in a way because there's so much power generated there. For example, a boxer or something, no? Like more they get punched sometimes, like the more power it generates. Here also greed, but it's always considered as negative, Navin, because
Mm-hmm.
even if it starts like motivating you at first, later there'll be a point that it's real it will remove the mask and its real, how to say, face will start showing. So then what happens is, then it becomes a problem. So that's why people even steal from like social services or even refugees, no? They start very honestly, but maybe at some point they felt greedy, or just so much money. Why not I take some? Because it happens, right? So you start maybe in holistic places also. These are
Hmm.
places like no, and but then you hear like somebody did this crazy thing here, regardless of the religion. I'm just telling it can happen anywhere because of some individual. And then you remember like why this is for a people or God or no, this institution there and some holistic purpose, but this person had to steal from there also. Some so it can happen for many reasons like that. First, it can be like motivation or a target. I have to reach this. I will buy. But there is a clear difference of okay, you can work for something, right? I'll work and get a car, but you cannot tell it's totally greed. Or I'll study hard and get a good job. You cannot say it's totally greed because you really work for it, right? But then in those like the choices we want, oh I want this, I want that, and
Hmm.
even within that range, you try to select more and more. That can apply to greed. But at first, initially, greed can trigger off some strong determinations and all, but later its ugly face will appear at some point. That's the danger. That's why people suddenly change, no? Or you get to know what they have been doing after some time, right?
Yeah.
So it changes.
Okay. All right. My next one is like, how does the concept of greed connect to other emotions like envy, pride, or attachment?
Like you said, Naveen, like if greed and anger, they were a coin, the coin would be ignorance.
Oh, I see.
So, and then the coin just can flip anytime.
Hmm.
So, when we don't have something, or we are really greedy for it, no, then it can slowly turn into envy. I don't have. My friend has it, but I don't have. In different stages in life, even. Or he has a guitar, no, I don't have. My parents cannot buy it for me. It can be sadness, or you tend to steal something from somewhere, or you get social hatred, and sometimes it can turn into very sociopathic or like very extreme situations, even, right? And then at some point you can start like how to say like even punishing others. I remember there was a school teacher, and in a very far away remote school, and he somehow or other came out of it, and the irony was he came back to his own place, and rather than his children he never allowed any other children to learn properly. So they should know better, right? Because they
Yeah.
came from that hardship. But the stranger thing is like somehow or other he comes back and he settles down and everything, and he becomes like the principal or something there. And it was a small school actually, but he was like totally dominating, and his children went to outside schools and became better and better. But the
Hmm.
other children, he used to cut off everything, and he made like really tough things for those innocent children. So you never know like where it can shift to. So definitely, yeah, it can turn, it can flip, and then it can turn into many dangerous situations even. I remember like there were even documentaries, Naveen, like there were children who did mass shootings in some
Hmm.
countries, and
Yeah.
they had made some videos, no? And one child, like I remember he was telling like the girls don't like him, and he was like telling, no, wait, you will see what will happen to you all in very bad languages. And he plotted to shoot these people, and he actually did, and he took his own life also. So it can turn into even hate, rage, mass destructions, lot of things. And some places where you see some revolutions, you can see some people actually taking revenge, and they execute also some other people, no? So there's like lot of social hatred and lot of things also that can appear to through this.
Superb, superb. So it's been amazing conversation so far, and it brings me to the last question for today,
Okay.
as part of our episode 4 of the Untold Side of the Mind series on greedy mind. So tell us, in the modern world where success is often linked to acquisition, is it really possible to lead a life free from greed?
Yeah, Naveen. In we don't have to be saints, or we don't have to be enlightened beings. If we can be, it will be very nice. But within a family, if the parents or the children having lesser greed, they can live in more happily or content, even in a school system or workplace or even society. If that greed factor is reduced, because this cannot be fulfilled, no. Maybe the parents are always working, but they have enough to sustain, that is enough, but they don't have time to spend. I remember, like, in some persons were talking in some first world countries also, both the parents are working, so the children are kept in daycare, and they are now complaining like the children, and they are not having that connection. But it was not very required for them, for both of them to go and work, but they considered it as independent, and they can have all the facilities they want. So but it was their choice. So but it took a huge chunk of their life, no, the best years that they could have, and later you cannot complain when that time is lost. No, you cannot get it back. You cannot go back and say, I want to be with my child. And later you will see the children leaving you because they have no feeling towards you, right? Maybe they just dump you in the hospital or elders home because you did that at first. Sometimes there are necessities, but some people it's not always the case. And I remember there's a friend like who never takes a holiday. He's
Mhm.
super like in a very good place now, but he doesn't even take a rest. At first he worked hard, that is for sure, but now he's in a stage he can rest a little, but
Right,
he doesn't
right.
want to. So some people, even when they are retired, they cannot stop. So this, yeah, we can be content, learn to content. That's why we talk about work life balance even. And then if we can have a balance, you see, before in all the times people had plenty of time, they had family time, quality time, they could go places, even on food, right? They had good food, much better than what we have now. Really, like organic food, right? Now we pay so much money for organic because we don't want the pesticides and all this stuff. They already had it, they grew it, and they had, like, they could just cuddle with the family, and what, they didn't have television or anything, right? Children didn't have like remote controls or all these games and everything, but they were playing with maybe very basic things, maybe some things they imagine even, but they were happy. And now you see, like, even children are not happy. I saw one child, some small thing, he had smashed the entire kitchen of a house with a hammer. He has just destroyed everything there just because of some game, because he was not given the new version or something, very simple thing. He had just destroyed the tiles and everything, and the parents also could not do anything because there are even rules and regulations now, right? So there are very aggressive children. In some countries they even take in their lives of the parents. So I don't want to tell like all these extreme things, but it is not a beautiful picture we can draw. So if we can be content and lesser greed, people can be more satisfied in life itself. And surely they can have their goals, determinations, all these things. But be very careful. Am I this proper human being? Am I treating my family well, or my colleagues, or workers, or anybody who's associating me? Even the people you see on the street, am I just acting like animal? Or like, even to say as an animal, it's not good for the animals even, right? So yeah, so if we can have kind of balance, and at some point, why in India and all, when they were 50, they would leave everything and just go, right? In those days,
Yeah.
like, but still now people, even if they are very old, they would just cling on to things, just hang on. And sometimes in afterlife also they come back, no, as ghost or something, and they, because of their property maybe, they don't want nobody to have it. So for this life as well as afterlife, even future lives, if we can have this contentment and see the reality of it, we can have much more happier and more peaceful life. But definitely you can reach the goals you intend in life also now in a very wholesome way, and you don't have to run the rat race or anything for that. That's
Mhm.
usually like greed oriented.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. So I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and thank you once again for being part of the Guiding Voice Untold Side of the Mind series. And it's been pleasure chatting with you, and I got enlightened. I'm sure it is going to open the minds of our audience as well. And thank you once again.
Most
All
welcome.
right. Yeah.
Thank
So,
you so much.
friends, here comes a question to you all, like whoever is watching this live or whoever will be watching this once the episode is posted or made available on different platforms. So, my question to you all is, have you ever caught yourself acting out of greed? If so, what did you learn from that experience? And also, in your opinion, is greed always bad or does it depend on the context? So, I will look forward to hearing your inputs in the form of comments, or you can reach out to me on social media, or you can get into a call with me as well. All right. So that is where we conclude our session. And as we wrap today's session on the greedy mind with Yogi Sanjeevana, I hope you are walking away with some deep reflections about the role greed plays in our lives. And it's clear that greed is more than just a desire for material things. It's a force that can subtly shape our thoughts, actions, and also our relationships. But here is a key takeaway: we all have the power to recognize when the mind falls into that trap of greed and to choose a different path, maybe like gratitude, generosity, or mindful living. So, greed essentially thrives on scarcity, but contentment flourishes in abundance. And the abundance is not about how much we have, but how much we appreciate. So let's commit to being mindful of our thoughts and actions and making choices that align with our higher self rather than the fleeting cravings of a greedy mind. So thank you all for tuning in and also for being part of this journey to uncover the untold side of the mind. And once again, a big thank you to Yogi Sanjeevana for sharing his wisdom with us today. Folks, remember to take a moment to reflect on what resonated most with you and how you can apply it in your own life. And if this discussion sparked any insights, drop your thoughts in the comments or share them with your network. And let's keep this conversation going. So stay curious, stay mindful, and we will see you next time for another deep dive into the untold aspects of the mind. And until then, take care and remember, true freedom begins when we master our mind. So take care, guys. Love you all. See you in the next live
Yeah.
series. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
So you need to hold for some